The following program is sponsored by CBN.
Coming up, should Donald Trump be impeached? As the special counsel investigates the president, one expert reaches a surprising conclusion. Harvard Law's Alan Dershowitz weighs in. And then, after enduring years of abuse,
I would get beat up for catching him cheating because I was snooping.
This woman planned to end her life.
I don't want this anymore.
Watch what saved her.
I mean, they were gone.
On today's 700 Club.
Well, you've heard the phrase Rome is burning. Well, it looks like California is literally on fire. Hurricane-style fire winds blowing. Unbelievable flames and smoke are ravaging the Golden State and leaving destruction in its wake. So far, there are fighters with burning fires all across nearly 900 square miles. President Trump has declared a major disaster.
One fire alone destroyed more than 1,000 homes and forced tens of thousands to evacuate. And in the middle of all of this, churches and volunteers are braving the dangers and giving victims help and hope. CBN's Heather Sells is on the scene in Northern California.
The devastation here in Redding is historic, but the tragedy is also uniting the local community and the church. At Bethel Church Sunday morning, thousands lifted their hands and sang about God's love in the flames. You can still see the smoke here from the nearby Carr fire, which destroyed entire neighborhoods and seemed to cherry-pick homes in others, leaving some to rejoice, others to mourn, and everyone to question their safety. Pastor Elizabeth Wanning spent the last week as a volunteer counselor at Bethel.
Whether you're in the evacuation area or you've lost a home or whether your home was completely safe, the whole community is on edge.
The air quality here is poor and churches are handing out breathing masks. One of the many needs local churches are working together to meet in what they believe is a new chapter of unity.
We've had over 30 churches meeting together, praying together, trying to problem solve.
5 churches are supporting a Red Cross shelter at Cross Point Community Church, and Bethel is hosting a Salvation Army distribution center. Mercy Chefs offers meals, and the center offers food and clothing for those who've lost everything, including at least 25 on Bethel's staff.
We have people on our teams, they lost their homes. Lots of us were displaced. Our own family was displaced.
Bethel member Tony Stoltzfus lost his home, which doubled as his office. 3 days after the fire started, he woke up to evacuation orders.
We threw our suitcases in the car, we got the pets, we got our computers.
Mary Lou Wonkel lost her home as well.
Didn't even know what I was doing, just throwing clothes in. Then I began to grab my Bibles.
For these 2 and thousands of others, housing is the urgent need.
They're piled up in their friends' homes. So, every available couch, every available place of floor space, people are moving into those spaces.
The government should allow victims to start sifting through the wreckage of their properties this week. Many churches are sponsoring chaplains who will escort and help families during the painful process.
That's very important. The first time they see a home burned, they just fall on their knees and cry, and you have to be there to support them.
For Tony, the tears have already come, but he's grateful for a handful of mementos he still has and his work as a personal coach, which uniquely prepared him.
A lot of what I do in my work is teach people to detach their desires from the things in the world that they think will fill them and find the desire of their heart in their relationship with Jesus.
Mary Lou is holding fast to her faith and a word she received from the Lord.
Being an intercessor, I just was praying in the Spirit. I had no words. I had nothing other than just praying in the Spirit. And even before we left the house, I kept hearing new beginnings, new beginnings, new beginnings.
Experts warn it will take years for Redding to rebuild, but this city is hoping to set an example. Pastor Chris is teaching from his life verse in Isaiah.
It's only God who could take ashes and make beauty out of it. It's only God that can take a disaster and create hope in the midst of it.
Reporting in Reading, Heather Sells, CBN News.
It's amazing. We need to pray and do what we can to help those people. But there's suffering. There's so much suffering in the world. And it's like this earth that we live in is like turned against us. And, you know, that's what, of course, the Bible tells us about things like this. But you wonder what's happening. Of course, in other news, you see there's a second earthquake this weekend has rocked Indonesia. Ephraim Graham has some of our top stories from CBN News. Here's Ephraim.
Pat, at least 91 people are dead and more than 200 injured after a powerful earthquake struck Indonesia. The 7.0 magnitude quake damaged thousands of homes, sending nearly 20,000 people into temporary shelters. The damage is massive in northern Lombok, a popular island for tourists, and the death toll is expected to rise. 3 ships have been deployed to evacuate people from Lombok and Bali. So far, there is no tsunami threat. Just last week, a 6.4 magnitude quake hit the area, killing 16 people. Venezuelan leaders are blaming far-right political parties neighboring Colombia and even the U.S. for an alleged assassination attempt on President Nicolas Maduro Saturday. Video shows the socialist leader speaking at a military event in Caracas when an explosion goes off in the distance. The blast injured 7 people. Investigators say it was 2 drones equipped with explosives. U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton denies U.S. involvement, saying Maduro himself may be behind it.
Could be a lot of things, from a pretext set up by the Maduro regime itself to something else. He's made accusations accusing the outgoing president of Colombia of responsibility, what he calls the extreme right wing in Venezuela. That means the vast opposition to his authoritarian rule. And he's blamed unnamed financiers in the United States.
Firemen say one of the blasts was a gas explosion in a nearby building. Maduro recently won re-election in a vote observers say was tainted by fraud. And critics say his socialist policies are devastating Venezuela, leading to hyperinflation that could reach 1,000,000% by the end of the year, a food crisis, and thousands of people fleeing the country. Pat?
This Maduro, as I understand, was a bus driver or something. He has no experience whatsoever. And after Hugo Chavez's demise, he came in and he's been ruling as a dictator. He's destroyed the Venezuelan economy. The people are suffering. If you can believe 1,000,000%, we're going to do a show in another few weeks, maybe a few days, about what 1,000,000% means and how you get there. But it is devastating. The people can't afford to eat anything. They're starving. They're leaving the country by the thousands. And Maduro should have been. It's a pity that they didn't, that drone, whatever it was, didn't get him, but it didn't. But nevertheless, over the years, that country, which was so prosperous, it has one of the highest concentrations of petroleum in the world, and it should have been prospering. Instead of that, that's what socialism will do. You look at communism and socialism, this is a living example of the devastating effects of those policies. And we certainly never want anything like that here in the United States. Well, Ephraim, what's else to the news?
Pat, President Trump's frustration with the ongoing Russia investigation played out on Twitter again this weekend. Amber Strong takes a look at his latest remarks and his attorney's defense strategy.
A fresh round of tweets from the president fueling the conversation surrounding the ongoing Russia investigation. Fake news reporting a complete fabrication, that I am concerned about the meeting my wonderful son Donald had in Trump Tower. This was a meeting to get information on an opponent. Totally legal and done all the time in politics, he tweeted. It confirms the 2016 meeting in Trump Tower was about gathering opposition research from a Russian lawyer, not primarily adoption as previously stated. Trump's lawyer, Jay Sekulow, says that isn't a crime.
The question is, what law, statute, or rule or regulation has been violated? Nobody's pointed to one.
As to the charges by some Democrats at the president's tweet last week calling on Attorney General Jeff Sessions to stop the investigation is obstruction of justice, Sekulow says not so fast.
Obstruction of justice by tweet is absurd. At the end of the day, this is all about the Constitution. It's all about Article 2, and that would be the question. If it went to court, that would be the question.
While President Trump's lawyers say he wants to sit down with the special counsel, they've advised against it, leaving the question for Robert Mueller's team, to subpoena or not to subpoena.
A subpoena for live testimony has never been tested in court as to a president of the United States, and there's a lot of language, articles, and precedent against that. But if that decision is made, we'll prepare to handle it in court.
While the president is calling for the investigation to end, Senator Marco Rubio says it must continue for the good of the nation.
I believe it is in the best interest of the president and of the United States of America and the American people for that investigation to run the course, for all the truth to come out. If there was evidence, strong evidence of collusion, I guarantee you it would have been leaked by now.
Meanwhile, visions of a blue wave come midterm elections have some Democrats talking impeachment again.
2 in 3 Democratic voters say Democrats, if they win the House, should begin the process of impeaching President Trump. That's according to a recent poll. Would you support that?
Yeah. If the grounds are there, then we should proceed.
But others in the party caution Democrats need to be careful before invoking the I word. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
We'll continue to watch this story. Pat?
Well, we're going to be talking to, Terry will tell us about it.
That's right. Coming up, he's a professor emeritus at Harvard Law, although he's been shunned for having the audacity to defend Donald Trump. Alan Dershowitz joins us live and makes his case against impeachment.
Well, if you read the paper, you find that a number of Democrats are saying, well, we ought to try to impeach the president. But if they take back Congress, can they do it? And if not, why not? Well, there's a book called The Case Against Impeaching Trump, written by Professor Alan Dershowitz, and he says impeachment is a big mistake.
Trump, traitor, treason! President Trump had only been in office a few months when the calls to impeach him began, and they haven't stopped.
We believe that President Trump has violated the Constitution, and we've introduced 5 articles of impeachment.
But as the drumbeat for impeachment grows, one prominent defender of civil liberties in America, Alan Dershowitz, says not so fast. He says in the fervor to impeach President Trump, his political enemies have ignored the text of the Constitution. Dershowitz lays out the reasons why those pushing for impeachment should think again in a new book, The Case Against Impeaching Trump.
Well, attorney Professor Alan Dershowitz is joining us right now on Skype. Professor, it's delightful to have you with us. You've written a book. Tell me what the Constitution says for start off. What grounds do you have under the Constitution for an impeachment against a sitting president?
Well, I think, Pat, both of us learned at Yale Law School that the first place you look when you're asked a question about the Constitution is to the text of the Constitution. And the text says that in order to impeach a president, you have to convict him on a 2/3 vote in the Senate of either treason or bribery or other high crimes and misdemeanors. And the framers meant what they said. They rejected a provision that said you can impeach a president for maladministration or being a bad president. You need to show that he committed an actual crime. And there is just no evidence at the moment that President Trump has committed an actual crime. Now, some Republicans have fallen into the same trap because they wanted to impeach Rod Rosenstein, and Rod Rosenstein hasn't committed any crime. So I'd be against impeaching Rosenstein. I'd be against impeaching President Trump. And if Hillary Clinton were president, I'd be against impeaching her. I just don't think you can impeach based on disagreements and policies. You have to prove the existence of an actual crime.
What is a high crime and misdemeanor? Has that been defined carefully by the legal scholars?
I would say it's been defined carelessly, not carefully. The framers had in mind something very interesting. They didn't mean any ordinary crime. I'll tell you a story about Alexander Hamilton that really explains this better than anything else. When Hamilton was Secretary of the Treasury, a man and a woman decided to set him up, a married couple. And so they sent the woman to seduce him, and she did. And then the man demanded extortion, and he paid it in order to keep it secret from his family. But then the man accused him of using Treasury funds to pay the extortion, and he denied that. And he wrote an essay causing tremendous embarrassment to his family, admitting the affair, which was adultery, which was a serious crime, and admitting paying the extortion, but denying that he used the funds from the Treasury, because he knew that using Treasury funds would be a high crime, a crime involving governance, whereas simply committing adultery was a crime, but it was a low crime, not a crime warranting impeachment. And I think that's the difference that Hamilton and others, Hamilton, after all, wrote the part of the Federalist Papers that dealt with impeachment, so I think he knew what he was talking about.
Well, you point out that there's a rule that we have established about coming against sitting officials doing their constitutionally appointed offices. Can you talk about that?
Sure. We cannot either impeach or prosecute a president for acting under Article 2 of the Constitution. Under Article 2, he's entitled to fire anybody he wants. That was held by the Supreme Court. He's entitled to pardon anybody he wants. That's an absolute power. He's entitled to tell prosecutors who to investigate and who not to investigate. It's not a good idea to do that, but Thomas Jefferson did that. John Kennedy did that. Many presidents have told prosecutors who to prosecute and who not to prosecute. And you cannot be charged with anything criminal or impeachable for merely exercising your authority under Article 2 of the Constitution.
Well, what about this thing about collusion? Is there such a thing as a crime of collusion?
Yeah, if two business people get together and collude to violate the antitrust law, that's a crime. That's the only crime of collusion in the entire federal criminal code. But if a candidate has a meeting at his home with his son or whoever in order to get dirt on an opposing candidate, that's not a crime. That may be collusion. I don't think you would even use the word collusion to define that kind of meeting, getting dirt on an opponent. But even if there were collusion, it wouldn't be a crime. You'd need to show a specific violation of federal election laws. You'd need to show some kind of bribery or extortion, some real crime. But simply colluding with another country, even a country we don't like, is not in violation of anything in the federal criminal code.
Well, you were talking about, you're of course opposed to this special counsel, and you've come up with a very unique concept about how we should deal with this Russian involvement. Well, what do you suggest we do?
Well, it wasn't all that unique. We did it after 9/11. We appointed a nonpartisan commission of experts to look at how to prevent a future 9/11. That's what we should have done here. We should have appointed Justice David Souter, a former of the Supreme Court, Justice O'Connor, other experts, former heads of the FBI, the CIA, to look into the whole issue of Russian involvement in our election. Russia did try to intrude in our election, and they're going to try to do it again. And that's a serious problem. But you should have had a commission doing it in the open with transparency. Instead, we have a special counsel operating behind the closed doors of a grand jury room, and we're not going to learn very much. And he only hears one side. He only hears the prosecution side. He doesn't hear the defense side or President Trump's side. So I think it was an ill-advised method. I was opposed to special counsel when it was appointed to investigate Whitewater, and that turned into an investigation of Bill Clinton's sexual activities in the Oval Office. So I've never thought special counsel is a good idea, and I don't think it's been a good idea in this case as well.
Well, you have an interesting chapter in this book about Whitey Bulger, that his involvement with the FBI, and Mueller was head of the Boston office. Was that tainted? Well, what did they do wrong?
Oh, they did everything wrong. It was the worst time in FBI modern history. There was this guy, Whitey Bulger, who was a real, hitman, murderer. He had a brother who was the head of the Senate in Massachusetts. And in order to protect the Bulgers, who it turned out Whitey Bulger was an informer with a guy named Rifleman Fleming, they accused 4 people of committing murders that were in fact committed by this Rifleman Fleming, who was an informer. And for years, they kept these innocent people in prison. 2 of them died in prison. 2 of them finally got out. They brought a lawsuit. They collected tens of millions of dollars from the government for this cover-up. But you can't ever get your life back if you've been sent to prison improperly. And Mueller was the U.S. attorney in Boston. He was the head of the Justice Department's unit in Washington and the head of the FBI while all this was happening. He was also head of the FBI when they were searching for Whitey Bulger, and they were not searching very hard. He was in plain view, living in Santa Monica, and reportedly, walking in the streets. And even there was one report that he used to go to a Red Sox bar, a bar in Santa Monica that has Red Sox fans, and he would sit in a special back room and watch the game. And people knew there were shirts that were printed saying, "I saw Whitey, I saw Whitey." But the FBI, the great FBI, couldn't find him. And a lot of people think they weren't looking very hard because they didn't want to find him because he could have made the FBI look very bad. Look, the FBI is a wonderful institution with great people, agents who put their lives at risk every day, men and women, and we should be so proud of the FBI, but there are some bad apples. And the question is, who were the bad apples that allowed this terrible scandal to go ahead, both in Boston and in Santa Monica, California?
Would you advise Trump to sit down and talk to them, or do you think the counsel is correct in saying don't do it under oath, he'll get you for perjury?
Oh, listen to your lawyer. I said on television once I had 4 pieces of advice for the president: don't tweet, don't pardon, don't fire, and don't testify. I think the last one is the most important. They're going to ask him what his motive was for firing Comey, and he's going to give an answer, and it may be a truthful answer, but somebody else will give another answer. Or he'll be asked whether he knew about the meeting in the Trump Tower, and he's already said he didn't. And you have Michael Cohen, saying he did. So you never allow a client to say anything that will be contradicted by anybody else. That's called a perjury trap. Even if he's telling the truth, the prosecutor may choose to believe the person who's testifying differently. So I would not advise him to testify. I'd advise him to fight the subpoena in court. In 53 years of practice, I have never had a client sit down with a prosecutor and testify. Prosecutors aren't trying to help you. They're trying to get you to commit a crime. Ask Martha Stewart. She learned that lesson in a very hard way.
That's right. So, well, I hope the president will listen to what you're saying on this program. But, Professor, thank you so much for being with us. It's a tremendous book, and I recommend it to our audience. And thank you so much for writing it. Alan Dershowitz, ladies and gentlemen, the book is called The Case Against Impeaching Trump, and it's a collection, essentially, of very cogent analysis about points of law that I think will be very important in this particular case. Great legal mind. Thank you so much. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. Terry, what's next?
Well, coming up, a woman who lived through an emotionally abusive childhood and a physically abusive marriage.
I ended up going to the emergency room. I had bruised kidneys, and I still have a scar on the left side of my face. I don't want this anymore.
Hear how she planned to end her life and find out what really set her free when we come back.
Welcome back. You're watching the 700 Club. I've got a touching story for you now. I think you'll appreciate. On New Year's Eve in 2009, I believe, Susan Burnham left her abusive husband. 6 months later, that same husband tried to kill her. A short while after that, Susan wanted to finish the job.
Susan Burnham grew up in an emotionally abusive family. Her father was an alcoholic who was in constant conflict with Susan, her mom, and her sisters.
It was just constant, just sorrow and just hurtful things and just rejection from every which way. It was almost like walking on eggshells because you never knew what you were going to get.
She began looking for love and acceptance through sexual relationships. She had her first abortion when she was only 14.
I was yearning for love so much that I looked for anybody. I'm looking for all these people to just fill these voids.
In her early 20s, she went to church where she felt the love of God. But Susan says she had a hard time receiving it.
I had this wonderful, awesome feeling of love. And I just kind of like, in the back of my mind, said, it's not gonna last long. He doesn't love me.
She quit going to church. Meanwhile, chaos and abuse followed her from one relationship to another, and eventually into marriage. She endured years of emotional and physical abuse at the hands of her husband.
I would get beat up for catching him cheating. He would cheat on me, and we would argue about it, but I would get beat up for it because I was snooping.
She used marijuana and alcohol to cope with the chaos in her home.
It was nothing for me to come home and just open up the bottle and just take shots. Drink, 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 drink. It masked everything. It numbed everything.
When she finally left her husband, he attacked her and tried to kill her.
I ended up going to the emergency room. I had bruised kidneys, and I still have a scar on the left side of my face. It's an indentation from where my face was smashed.
After a lifetime of disappointment and heartbreak, Susan decided to commit suicide.
You know, everything just piled on me at one time. You know, just the feelings of just, ew, like, look at you. Look at who you've become. This is it. I am done. I am done with this. I don't want this anymore. I had planned to get drunk and just take these pills and go. I was over it.
She drank vodka and passed out before she could take the lethal dose of pills. The next day, Susan woke up sick and ready for a change.
When I was throwing up, I remember just even doing that. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I looked up to God. I said, okay, you want to help me? Now is your opportunity. Do it then. Take all this from me. I don't want this anymore. Take it. It's yours. You want it here. Take it. Let me see what you're working with. Let me see if you really love me.
That morning, God proved his love for her, immediately setting her free from drug and alcohol addiction.
When he took all that and he took it away from me, and the desires were just gone. Like, I mean, they were gone. I never wanted to drink. I never wanted to take alcohol. I never wanted to smoke marijuana ever again.
Susan says everything changed when she gave her life to Christ.
Once I truly surrendered everything and allowed him to take control, that's when I started to see myself through his eyes and how I'm fearfully and wonderfully made in his image. I'm praising, these are happy tears. I'm just thanking God right now that he just delivered me from all that. That was just the worst. Oh my God.
She went back to school and earned a degree in counseling. She says her life is an example of how the love of God can set anybody free.
My purpose is for his glory, to help others, so that someone else can see that, wow, she made it through all of this, and yet she's still willing to reach back and pull others up.
Susan forgave her ex-husband and others who hurt her. She now knows the love of God was always there for her. She only needed to receive it.
I can't love anybody else without loving me and without accepting love from God. And if he doesn't ever do anything else for me, I'm okay. Because he's done enough. Yeah, he's done enough.
Love. You know, the Bible says that God is love. It doesn't say he's loving. He says he is love itself. The God who created you and me is love. And the desperate things in the heart of every human being is to be loved. You know, there's that song, you're nobody till somebody loves you. So find yourself somebody to love. Well, that's sort of a nice thing, but there's some truth in it. You know, but till you really find God, you'll never know love and acceptance. Now, you may be a battered wife. Boy, what that Susan had was horrible. Husband beating her up, trying to kill her. I mean, it was just awful to have to endure that kind of torment from somebody who was supposed to love and cherish you. You know, that's what the vows of marriage are. You're going to love and you'll cherish. But no way. She didn't get love and she wasn't cherished. She was beat up, abused physically and mentally. And there are many women watching this program right now. You've had the same thing. People have kicked you around. You've been abused. And God says, look, I am love. And if you come to me, you will know love, joy unspeakable and full of glory. You will have your life filled with joy, and you'll have peace in your heart. And just what Jesus said, my peace I give unto you, not like the world give I unto you, but I'm going to give you peace. I'm going to let you have peace of mind, peace of soul. And that wonderful word in Hebrew, shalom, and the Arabs say it in Arabic, salam. The whole idea of greeting somebody and saying to them, peace. You know, we're going to live at peace, we'll be at peace, our hearts will be at peace. And if you'd like that, there's only one way to get it, and that is through a person whose name is Jesus. And if you want to know real love and real forgiveness and real joy and real peace, it's in a person, and the person is named Jesus, who himself is God. Now, if you want it, I want to offer you something real simple. I want you to pray with me and ask him to take over. Would you do it? Just pray with me right now. Bow your head wherever you are. Say these words, but meet them in your heart. Jesus, that's right. Jesus, I need love. I feel like nobody has loved me. And I want to have the love that only you can give. And I want to reflect that love so the love of God is shed abroad in my heart. Now come into my heart, Jesus, I pray. Live your life in me, and I will live for you, and I will serve you all the days of my life. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for loving me. Thank you. I receive that love right now, and I let you into my heart. Love others through me, Lord, from this moment on. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, if you prayed with me just then, I want to give you something. You know, you say, what do I do now? I just made a prayer of commitment. Well, that's nice, but what's next? Well, I have a little pamphlet for you. I'll give it to you free. It's called A New Day, and it's yours if you just ask. It's free, it's cheap. You can't get it any cheaper than free. We'll send it to you, no financial commitment. But in here is a little compact disc. It's got about 70-some minutes of very concentrated teaching about what is next in your life. And a little booklet that tells about the scriptures that are in this packet. We'll send it to you. Just please call in. If the numbers are busy, be patient and call in, because we'll be here on the phone all day long. It's 1-800-700-7000. It's easy to remember. It's an 800 number, and it's 700-7000. So you call, say, look, I prayed with Pat. I gave my heart to the Lord, and I want that little booklet. Terry, what's next?
Still ahead, she's known as Mama Lily. She sold everything she owned to look after the poor orphans of sub-Saharan Africa. Lillian Klepp shares her story when we come back.
And welcome back to the 700 Club. The terror group Hamas says it will agree to a gradual ceasefire with Israel. That is according to a London-based Saudi newspaper. Israel has not responded publicly to that report. The deal brokered by Egypt calls for Hamas to stop its terror activities on the Gaza border. Those include rocket firings and arson attacks with kites and balloons. In return, Israel would ease restrictions on goods coming to the Gaza Strip. Firefighters said incendiary balloons and kites from Hamas caused 50 fires just this weekend. A Palestinian teenager died Sunday in clashes with Israeli troops. Orphans Promise is helping to educate children all over the world. More than 50 children graduated from an education center in Armenia. Orphans Promise recently celebrated their graduation by giving them a diploma and promoting them to the next grade. Students work with Orphans Promise all year long to achieve high marks and were proud to finish the school year. Orphans Promise educates thousands of children every day in more than 61 countries. Now you can learn more about what CBN is doing around the world by going to cbn.com/international. Pat and Terry are back with more of today's 700 Club. That's coming up right after this.
Nearly 20 years ago, Lillian Klepp prayed a prayer that may have sealed her fate. She'd been feeling as if she wasn't reaching anyone outside the four walls of her church. What happened next took her far beyond those four walls and halfway around the world.
Dennis and Lillian Klepp were an ordinary couple actively involved in their church in Wisconsin. But in 1999, after hearing a speaker share about the orphans and widows in war-torn countries, Lillian felt they should be doing more to help. 2 years later, the Klepps sold all they had and moved to Africa, devoting their lives to serving the poor in South Sudan and Uganda.
Well, Lillian Klepp joins us now, and we welcome her to the show. It's great to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Talk a little bit about the beginning when God first spoke to your heart about this, Lillian, because he didn't speak to Dennis's heart right away. So how did that all transpire?
Well, when I was at this women's convention and God spoke to me to sell everything and give it to the poor, I kind of pondered it in my heart for about a week. I thought, how am I going to tell Dennis this? And when I shared it with him, he says, I don't think so, Lil. And at that time, he had been dealing with cancer as well. And he said, if there was 12,000 women there, how come you were the only one God spoke to?
Yeah.
But it was within a matter of, yes, I know it. And in a matter of months, he really felt that we should do this as well.
Wow. So your first missionary trip took you to Uganda, and this was during a time of civil war. I mean, when I think of places in Africa that probably aren't necessarily safe to go, Uganda's on that list. Why did you go there?
Well, we went to Uganda and then up to South Sudan, and then now we're down in Uganda working as well. And because of the war broke out again, there's some tribal things going on. And we actually, many of the people from our communities left and are living down in refugee camps in Uganda.
You've seen a lot of that over the years that you've been in Sudan and Uganda, and the children always get the worst end of that, don't they?
It's the women and children that end up suffering.
So what are the greatest needs there?
The greatest needs, I mean, of course, prayer is the biggest thing. We just need peace so we can move forward, but we're bringing them hope in spite of the situation. And our hospital's been closed for a while, so now we're looking at reopening it. They're flying flights 2 days a week again. So there's hope, down the road. So we're looking for doctors and nurses too.
The two of you started an organization called Harvesters Reaching the Nations. What was your vision for that?
And the name God gave me, Nations, it wasn't just, actually it was Sudan at that time. I keep saying Sudan, but South Sudan now. And that's why when we ended up down in Uganda, it seems like God's opening doors, in other nations now.
In that whole region. What have been some of the toughest times for you?
Not understanding probably the culture and living in a civil war of unrest, not knowing, what we're going to do.
Was your safety compromised many times?
Yes and no. I mean, it's hard to explain, but living in that, I really didn't feel that, fearful, but there were times. I mean, we were attacked several times and my glasses smashed and they stopped Dennis and slapped him up. And probably one of the hardest things is I was sick a lot, malaria we had and typhoid and things like that.
Yeah. And yet you have gone back year after year after year. Tell me about Caleb.
Oh, Caleb is doing well. He was the first orphan that was adopted. He was 2 weeks old, and he's 17 now. He just got his driver's permit yesterday. Yeah, 17.
Wow.
So he's doing well in school. He's doing very well.
So is he here with you?
He's here with us.
Now because you had trouble for a while with him being able to come with you.
7 to 9 years to legally adopt him. Wow. And then, to bring him here.
And he had some tough beginnings. He was born early.
Yes,
right, and was very small.
Yes, and his mother, I think, was an alcoholic, so there was a lot of malnutrition and things.
Well, that was a rescue on your part. Your ministry has been reaching more than just orphans. You've had an opportunity also to speak the love of Christ into the Muslim community.
Yes.
How has that happened?
Well, there was actually, I remember one time when I was attacked in the market, there was a Muslim man that had a shop, and he actually saved me, grabbed me, put me behind him, and then dealt with the men that were trying to attack me. So I built a relationship with the people living there. I think that was the thing, even during the war, you know.
Yes, it's different than just showing up from time to time.
Yes.
Lillian, what has kept you and Dennis there over the years? Because, I mean, you've talked about civil war, you've talked about being attacked, you've talked about feeling out of place, not understanding the culture, and having things like someone who is radical attack you because of a faith issue. What sustained you? What made you guys keep saying, we're going to keep living here, we're going to keep doing what God's called us to do?
You know, it's just, Christ just put that in my heart. Like I said, we were serving him in our church, and I just felt we weren't reaching out, and God has just placed such a burden on my heart and a calling that, you know, no matter what, we just knew that we were in God's will. And I'd rather be in God's will in a dangerous place than be out of his will in a safe place.
Yeah. Steadfastness.
Steadfastness.
Yeah. Well, a few years ago, you and Dennis returned to the United States. Tell me about where things are at right now in Uganda and Sudan.
Right now we're back in the States, and we're going to visit again, you know, like you said, once a year. Now we have actually a school that we opened up in Uganda, and because there's so many refugees there as well. I think there's 1 million that left South Sudan. And yet we still have our orphanages going in Terkeka and Yei as well. So there's still a need, a bigger need probably, for orphans now with all the civil unrest and the killing that's happened.
God's actually taken the burden that he laid on your heart and put that on your son's heart as well. You have a son and daughter-in-law that are now living over there and facilitating and running all of this.
And our grandson, 6-year-old grandson.
Really? That's over there. Wow.
Yes.
Lillian, how important is education?
Education, we really feel is so important. We didn't understand it when we first went there, but it changes the mindset. There's so much superstition and things like that that get even broken. And then with Christ and the Word of God in education, that's what really makes an impact.
You know what I haven't even mentioned is your health issues. Both you and Dennis have had health issues over the years. You mentioned the malaria, but he has battled cancer off and on. You've had back surgeries, and so you've endured through all of those things and now continue to operate from here in the United States with part of your family still over there. Orphans Promise has been so honored to be a part of what you're doing. I mean, I know that these kids also need food in addition. They can't learn if they're hungry. And so it's been our great privilege to walk through all of God's called you.
Well, we appreciate you helping and coming alongside of us. It's the whole body of Christ. You know, we went out in the front line, but we need everybody working together.
Amen. Well, what a wonderful work you're doing, and we want to continue to stand with you. Harvesters Reaching the Nations has partnered with CBN's Orphans Promise to help children in war-torn Uganda and South Sudan. And we are so grateful to Lillian and Dennis Klepp for their service overseas. And if you'd like to know more about their story, you can check it out. Her memoir is called Adventures Under the Mango Tree, and you can find out how to get a copy by going to cbn.com. People who are just answering the call of Christ and living out an adventure far beyond what they would have.
And they can sponsor orphans. They can go to our web.
Awesome.
That's a great need.
So wonderful chance to be able to make a difference in the life of an individual child. Well, still ahead, time for another session of Your Questions, Honest Answers. One viewer says, I was baptized when I was very young, but I don't remember it. Was it valid? Pat's going to weigh in on that and more, so don't go away. Well, we've had an overwhelming response to our Build a Better Gut series. I know you're excited about that, Pat.
Well, I mean, we've never had anything like, I mean, you know, when I did the my diet program, we had 1,200,000 total requests, but it was over a period of time. In one day, we had 200,000 telephone calls. It jammed up everything we had. And people are calling in from overseas. They want information. So our producer told me today, he said, look, why don't you and Laurie sit down for a few sessions of Q&A where you can take the questions that people have. And so in the next few days, we'll be doing that, answering questions, because there's so much information.
Well, and it's so important. We want you to know it's not too late for you to order a copy of this free booklet. If you'd like to be amongst the thousands and thousands who are calling, our number is toll-free. It's 1-800-700-7000, or you can log on to cbn.com and download the free booklet there. Plus, you can stream the entire 4-part Build a Better Gut series and get bonus information, all that at cbn.com. So make sure your gut is healthy.
Well, it's incredible. But hey, listen, CBN is doing work all around the world. In many situations, we partner with others who help take the gospel even further. And some of those people include doctors such as Larry Vieira, a top surgeon and medical missionary.
Larry Vieira loves being a surgeon, a job he's had for over 20 years.
I like taking care of people. I've been blessed to work at what I like.
Larry's work has taken him and his wife Yolanda all over the world. He's even done medical missions to the Ukraine and Kazakhstan with CBN.
We had the opportunity to go to the leading orthopedic center in the country and influence their leaders and teach their teachers and leave a lasting effect.
It is all done professionally and lovingly with all glory going to him.
After serving with CBN overseas, the Vieiras decided to increase their giving to the ministry.
It just reinforced the fact that CBN is the place to put your money.
I know that you are putting the money to work, and I know that it's not going to be wasted. You also take care of the widows, the hungry. You take care of the orphans. You are there, so that's what Jesus said to do.
The Vieiras say that through the years, CBN has also helped them spiritually.
CBN fed me when I was a baby Christian. I'd come home from working all day, watch 700 Club. I think it's the best source of encouragement you can find on television.
Larry's 102-year-old father, Anthony, is also a CBN partner. He loves helping those less fortunate and wants to inspire others to do the same.
The work that CBN does, I can see how many people it helps.
If you want to plant a financial seed, I cannot think of a better place.
I think it's the wisest investment to give it to somebody who does it all. And you can sit back and say, praise God, I contributed to that.
What wonderful people. And these are just representative of the marvelous people we have who make this ministry possible through their gifts. And so if you want to join the 700 Club, it's so easy. It's just 65 cents a day. We're not talking about a lot of money. But when everybody gets together, and millions of people, it can do a huge amount. Now, we're going to give this as a gift to those who join the 700 Club. It's called Angels, Their Power, Purpose, and Presence. What about Angels? Well, this will be available to you as a DVD. And you can call in and say, count on me as a 700 Club member, 1-800-700-7000. So let's go for questions.
We're ready. Okay, this is a viewer who says, as a child, I was baptized by immersion at a very young age, but I don't remember if it was in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I have my baptism certificate, and it says it was done in that way. But I heard recently that I must be baptized in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ for it to be right. Was my baptism valid? And is it acceptable to God if I don't fully understand it? Was my baptism supposed to be done before or after I have believed in the name of the Lord Jesus through salvation?
Well, the Baptists, believe in baptism of believers by immersion. Of course, the Catholic tradition is that they're sprinkled, and in many other churches, the children are baptized as infants, and that brings them into the covenant with essentially the faith of their parents. So the Baptist tradition is that it's only by believers. So in the Bible, mostly it was by believers. They knew what they were doing. Now, I know Harold Bradison used to do it, and I do the same thing. When I baptize, it's in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and then you say in Jesus' name, and you get it all in. But I don't think the Lord is interested in formulas. I really don't think it's the formula. It's what's in people's hearts that counts, all right?
Okay, this is a viewer who says, hi, I'm 16. My mom chooses to live with her boyfriend who drinks, takes pills, and yells at her. He used to call me the B word and locked me and my mom out of the house. He's so evil. I just want my mom back. What can I do?
I really think you ought to go to social services and report this. This is child abuse. It's the wrong thing. And to have a live-in boyfriend who's drinking and taking drugs and violating the law and doing the rest of the stuff. Your mother should have been objecting to that, but apparently she'd rather have this boyfriend on hand and have her child being mistreated. Now, he's not molesting you, but you ought to report it to the authorities. What's next?
Well, I have a quick one here. Pat, I was understanding if God doesn't give us more than we can handle, then why do people commit suicide?
Well, they commit suicide because their minds are unstable. It hasn't got to do with what God's given them. It has to do with what's going on in their own mind and heart. And they can be chemical reactions, they can be drugs, they can be spiritual, it could be demonic. I mean, who knows why people commit suicide, but to blame that on God's burden is, I think, it's unreal. We leave you with today's Power Minute from 1 John. God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. Well, for Terry and all of us, this is Pat Robertson, and we thank you for being with us, and Lord willing, we'll be back at this same time tomorrow, so don't miss it. Bye-bye.